seated, please. Good morning. Make sure I'm on. You may have to turn the master up a little bit, Jennifer. I didn't get a double set this morning. See, there you go. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Yes. All right. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Good to see Aubrey and Bridget back there, and glad you're with us. Sorry about your mom. Y'all were very faithful to tend to her for so long, and we're very glad y'all were able to be back here. And we'll accept that as God's blessing, but it's a hard thing to do, I know. Good to have just folks in general. We've got some at Beautiful Feet today. Some are off in Florida at a wedding. That's where Lance and Ray and their clan is. Kira was getting married yesterday. I think yesterday. They'll be back in late tonight, I think. So we've got a hole in a few places. Thank y'all for filling in very well. I think the air's running. I can't tell if it's air or heat these days. So. Oh, Lauren says it's air. I do nothing. I don't touch anything anymore. Leave all those things alone. We're looking at the shepherd's heart today. We know the shepherd king comes into the world, and Jesus has his royal credentials, and his birth certificate is in order, and the prophecies about him are in order, and we know that he begins to step out and reign as the Messiah, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords that comes into the world. He then trains his disciples some and begins to send them out to go and to preach the good news that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And this morning what he does is he begins to reveal the shepherd's heart. He begins to unfold that. Now, back in Matthew chapter 9, this little passage comes up. Jesus was at at Matthew's house, right? And when he goes to Matthew's house, Matthew, the tax collector, invites all of his friends in. And everybody looks over the fence to see who's in Matthew's backyard. And Jesus is there eating with tax collectors and sinners. And the Pharisees begin to say, "What's he doing?" They ask the disciples of Jesus, what's the king doing eating with the riffraff? What's the king doing eating with the tax collectors and the sinners? Why is he there? And Jesus hears them. He knows their heart. And he told them that he didn't come to heal the well, but to heal the sick. But he gives them this challenge. Go and learn this. I desire compassion and not sacrifice. He begins to open up his heart. Go learn this. I desire compassion and not sacrifice. That's their assignment. Can you imagine hearing Jesus give you an assignment? You've raised a question, you've asked, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "Go learn this. I desire compassion and not sacrifice." The root of it is in what Shannon read from Micah chapter 6. It's also in Hosea chapter 6. Easy to remember that those two go together. Do I delight in rivers of sacrifice? Do I want rivers of oil and thousands of sacrifice? No. I desire compassion. Loyalty is what Hosea 6 says. I desire loyalty, but loyalty is not a good translation. It's that word that we like so much, hesed. It is loving kindness is what I long for, and not sacrifice. God in the Old Testament says, I long for loving kindness and not sacrifice. At one point, he tells people to quit coming to church. Don't bring your money in here. Don't bring your sacrifices in here. You're all making me sick and tired. I don't want to see your face anymore. I loathe your offerings. God says, don't go to church. Yeah, because they hadn't learned he desires compassion and not sacrifice. We unfold that a little more in Matthew chapter 11 through the beginning of chapter 12. And I'm not going to spend a long time. For the first time in Matthew, I'm going to skip reading a few verses and just refer you back to them. Jesus begins his discipling ministry. John the Baptist is in prison, and John sends his disciples to Jesus and says, go ask him if he's the expected one or not. And Jesus gives him the anointed response, the messianic response. Go tell John, the deaf hear, the blind see, the lame walk, and the dead are being raised. John will get it. He'll get the message. And that's the last time we hear of John's disciples in Matthew, I'm quite sure. We don't hear of them again. And what John is actually doing is he's saying, I want y'all to go see the shepherd. And I want you to see the shepherd's true heart. And I don't want you to be my disciples any longer. I want you to be disciples of Christ. I came preaching that he was on the way, and now he's here, and I want you to believe in him. And John is transitioning his disciples. I don't think John has any question about whether Jesus is the Messiah. He's pointing his disciples that are still hanging with him and saying, basically, it's time for you guys to follow Jesus. And they seem to shift and do that. That scene comes up in Matthew chapter 11. The disciples of John start to go away, and Jesus tells that wonderful record. When John was preaching, what did y'all go out to see? Did you go out to see someone in soft clothes, or did you go to see a prophet? You went to see a prophet. You wanted to hear the prophet's voice. And if you'll accept it, he was Elijah. He is Elijah's voice, and he preached preparing the way for me to come. There is no one greater among women that has been born than John. But the least in the kingdom is greater than he. Transition time. No one in the world had been higher elevated than John the Baptist when he's born. But now then, Jesus says there's a new condition available. The least in the kingdom is greater than John. And so he wants people to understand the power of the kingdom. And he begins to reveal his shepherd's heart. As he begins to reveal that heart, he talks about cities that haven't repented. And we pick up in 11:25. And from here down, we will pretty well cover all the verses. Matthew 11:25. At that time, Jesus said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and intelligent and have revealed them to infants. Yes, Father, for this way was well-pleasing in your sight. All things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, nor does anyone know the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wills to reveal him. And then he says those wonderful words, I'm going to declare my heart to you. I'm going to declare my heart. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. We don't sing that song a lot, and Byron sang it well this morning. I requested, O heart bowed down with sorrow, come, O come. He says, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. I will give you rest. I'm the shepherd king who wants to give people rest. I want to walk them beside still waters. I want to put them in green pastures. I want to provide for them. I am the shepherd king. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. Our world has a lot of that going on right now. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Well, there's just nothing much more pleasant than rest. I'm sort of with Doug. I like Thanksgiving as a holiday because it oftentimes brings a moment of rest. You eat too much, so you have to rest, right? You have to sleep a little. I will give you rest. It's that time of year where suddenly no one expects you to be at work, and you can sleep a little later and have a little rest. I just need to breathe for a moment. I look forward to a little rest. I asked Savannah if they were out of school all week next week. Most of you are, I suppose. Looking forward to a break, she says. A little rest. Give me some time. Different things can happen. Jesus comes into the world and he says, I see the sheep are like sheep without a shepherd. They're dispirited and downcast. And I want to gather them together and take care of them. I want to give them rest. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Now, wait a minute. How are we going to rest and bear a yoke? Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. If your religion is burdensome, something is wrong with it. If you're weighed down with trying to follow Christ, something is wrong with that. He says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Come and learn from me. He told them to go and learn, I desire compassion and not sacrifice. Here he says in verse 29, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. You know what that means? We don't deal with oxen under a yoke very much anymore, do we? When's the last time you hooked up a yoke of oxen? No one. Can't see a hand out there. Well, I think Jesus is telling us, when you have a yoke of oxen, there's one on one side, one on the other. And you position them underneath this long wooden bow, and you pin it under their neck, and they're able to pull a load with it. And I think Jesus is asking us to yoke up with him. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. One of the hardest things to teach a pair of young oxen is when to gee and when to haw. When you're going left and when you're going right. Whoa and go. When you're going to start, when you're going to stop. And think about that for a moment. Have you ever seen a team that they start to pull and one gets ahead? What's the other one do? It stops it. It can't pull it by itself. And the one that started pulling, he stops because he can't pull the whole load by himself. But if you can get both of them to start together, then they can pull the load. And Jesus is saying, take my yoke upon you, and I'll show you how to be a good ox. I'll show you how to submit to the will of God. I'll show you what it looks like to have the heart of the shepherd king. I'm not going to be a king who sits in a palace somewhere and tells everybody what they need to be doing. I'm not going to be the rabbi who sits in the church building and says, I wish all of y'all knew what I know. He says, no, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And you shall find rest for your souls. I'm gentle and humble in heart. The heart of the shepherd is gentle and humble. I'm gentle and humble in heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. That's what we need. We need respite, rest for our souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. At that time in chapter 12, Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath, and his disciples became hungry and began to pick the heads of grain and eat. But when the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, look, your disciples do what it is not lawful to do on the Sabbath. They're breaking the law. Breaking the law. But he said to them, have you not heard what David did when he became hungry, and he and his companions, how he entered the house of God, and they ate the consecrated bread, which was not lawful for him to eat, nor those who were with him, but for the priest alone? Don't you remember your scripture, the Old Testament? David comes to the priest, takes the showbread and eats it. All right, verse 5. Have you not read in the law that on the Sabbath, the priest in the temple break the Sabbath and are innocent? The preacher's the only one that has to work on Sunday, right? Don't do any work on Sunday. Then you tell the preacher, get up and preach. The priests were the only ones. They go in the temple. Don't do any work on Sabbath. Then they go in and they have to do all of this work on the Sabbath. He says, they break the law on the Sabbath, keeping the law. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Now, the real problem comes next. But I say to you that something greater than the temple is here. But if you had known what this means, I desire compassion and not sacrifice, you would have not condemned the innocent. I told you guys 2 chapters ago to go learn what this means. 2.5 now. I said back in chapter 9, go learn this. I desire compassion and not sacrifice. Now, we've progressed down through here, and I'm showing you the shepherd's heart, and I'm revealing what my ministry is like, and I'm showing you what it looks like to walk into the kingdom. And here I am, and my guys are going through, and they're getting a handful of grain and having a little breakfast on a Saturday, and you guys are crying, that's unlawful. You didn't get the message, did you? I desire compassion and not sacrifice. It wasn't about doing the right thing. It was about having the heart for doing the will of God. It wasn't about how many times you went to church and how many times you took the Lord's Supper and whether you sang tenor or bass that didn't exist then. It was about you didn't learn my heart. You didn't understand who I am and what I'm about. You guys didn't get it. And we're going to have them again in 15. We're going to have them again in 23. Jesus just keeps ramping up the conflict with the Pharisees who keep saying, hey, your teacher doesn't do it right. And he says, I didn't come to do it your way. I came to do the will of God. It's more about your heart than anything else. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. But then you get that compassionate heart. You didn't learn your lesson. I gave you that assignment. I wasn't just speaking into the wind. I really wanted you to go learn. I desire compassion and not sacrifice. It took me 32 years to learn that phrase. Maybe you're still working on it. Maybe you're way ahead of it. It took me 32 years to learn I desire compassion and not sacrifice. I started when I was an infant. And I was 32 before the lights ever started coming on. That's what he meant. The next illustration sort of helps us, and we'll close. In verse 8, for the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. I'm in charge of Saturdays. Don't try to tell me what I can do on Saturdays. Departing from there, he went into their synagogue. He went to church on Saturday then. And a man was there whose hand was withered, and they questioned Jesus, asking, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? So that they might accuse him. Now, I don't know if it's the same day or not, but if it is the same day, the guys outside should have run ahead and said, wait, don't ask him the question. Hold out. Don't ever open the door. He'll nail you on this one. He does it all the time. Maybe it's the next Saturday and the guys still haven't learned I desire compassion and not sacrifice. You've got a guy comes in with a withered hand. Put him down front in church. Make sure everybody sees him. The withered hand people weren't supposed to be in church. They were deformed, right? They don't really have full access. If they came, they should sit in the cry room. They shouldn't come in the auditorium, surely. No, just put them right down front. When he comes in, we'll ask him if it's lawful to heal on the Sabbath. That'll get him. That's a really good one. We'll get him there. Verse 11. I think Jesus coughed before he said it. He said to them, what man is there among you who has a sheep, and if it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will not take hold of it and lift it out? You all know this lesson, but you won't apply it. If your sheep falls down, you pick it up. The shepherd's heart is, if my sheep fall down, I pick them up. That's what a good shepherd does. When my sheep are in trouble, I help them. Now, you've brought me my sheep, and he's got a withered hand, and you know it's unlawful for me to do any work on the Sabbath, and you know my work is to heal people, and so here it is on the Sabbath, and you're trapping me. Do I heal him or not heal him? You guys would go pick your sheep up. Then he says in 12, how much more valuable then is a man than a sheep. Great phrase coming. It is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. I'd never picked up that phrase till I read it through this time. It is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Get rid of your rules, get rid of your laws, quit counting noses and setting poses and get down to the nitty-gritty. It's okay to do good things on Sunday. It's all right. It's okay. You're missing the whole heart because you missed the whole lesson. You didn't go and learn what I told you to go and learn. I desire compassion and not sacrifice. I don't need you to come in here and do church. I need you to go out and be church. I need you to live like sheep that are able to help those around them. I want you to go and preach good news to people. I want you to know that I came to help people. This administration is not about law keeping. This administration is about helping. That's what it's about. It's okay to do good on the Sabbath. It's lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. Then he stretched it out, and it was restored to normal like the other. But the Pharisees went out and conspired against him as to how they might destroy him. No one's even impressed. The guy's hand's okay. Right? No one's even considering. That sheep looks really well now. He's a bad sheep. Now he's a good. No one even looks at it. They just went out to see if they could trap him against the law. You'd think they'd learn to keep their mouths shut and quit trying to argue with the rabbi. But their rabbis never said anything like this. Jesus, aware of this, withdrew from there, many following him. He healed them all and warned them not to tell who he was. This was to fulfill what was spoken through Isaiah the prophet. Behold, my servant whom I have chosen, my beloved in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him. He shall proclaim justice to the Gentiles. He will not quarrel, nor cry out, nor will anyone hear his voice in the streets. A battered reed he will not break off, and a smoldering wick he will not put out, until he leads justice to victory. And in his name the Gentiles will hope. We'll put our hope in his name, the name of Jesus. You might not think this lesson is all that significant. This is the heart of the matter. This is the lesson that says grace trumps law. This is the lesson that says faith is greater than works. This is the lesson that says the righteousness attributed to you by faith in Jesus is greater than any self-righteousness. Religious people love to be self-righteous and wish everyone was just like them. And Jesus says, I want to be helpful and help everyone be what God calls them to be. I want to be the good shepherd. I want you to learn I desire compassion and not sacrifice. I was never about getting from you. I appreciate the prayers about the offering. Everything is God's. It all belongs to him. Use it to his good and to his glory. But that's why this sermon is so important. And that's what I picked up at the age of 32, that the Church of Christ laws weren't the answer, but grace was. Now, I'm still preaching in the Church of Christ 32 years later, and I love the Church of Christ. Don't mishear me. And I'm grateful for the message of the ministry that we have. And I like how we do and what we do. But I don't hang up on the laws of doing. We hang up on the Jesus who leads. Where he leads me, I will follow. Come and learn from him. Take his yoke upon you. And learn from me, he says. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. It's all the laws and the rules and the churchianity that destroys a relationship with God. It's not Jesus. He says, come to me. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. If you need to come to Jesus this morning, that's what you're coming to. You're not coming to join the Church of Christ and try to figure out why we do what we do the way we do it. You're signing up to say, he is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. My faith is in him, and I will follow the Good Shepherd, and I will be under a yoke with him. That's what you're called to. And that's what we're calling you to. And if you have a question, ask me. If you're struggling with legalism, ask me. If you're still hanging up on sacrifices, ask me. It took 32 years, but I came to learn that he desires compassion and not sacrifice. If you're learning that, will learn it, long for it, or need to take his yoke, come, as together we stand and sing.
I am thine, O Lord, I have heard thy voice and in